time is it?
Pasa pasa,
Time.
pasa pasa.
Time. Every gal, every gal, every gal, every gal. I go me a
Pasa pasa.
Stop, girl, wine, drink and feel it. Drink and rave till the morning light, my body. Center. Have a drop stand.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 for 2021. I think we're on episode 10. I lost count. Hopefully you're keeping track. We hope that you are doing well, staying safe, getting lots of sun, and eating lots of fruits and veggies. So before we jump in, we wanted to say thank you all so much. We know that there are so many options. I feel like there's a new podcast every week. Literally, I am surprised every time I go into like the podcast thing on my phone. So thank you all for listening to us and spending some of that time with us. We definitely recognize that there are so many options out here. So we wanted to say thank you. Not only for listening to us, but also messaging us, DMing, emailing, calling, texting, all of it. We WhatsApping, all of it. Let us know what you think of the content and what you're relating to. So thank you very much. We enjoy these conversations. And I will say, I think this has been, at least for me, I don't know about the other ladies, but a forced time of connection.
Mm-hmm.
At a time when I just sometimes don't feel like connecting because work is crazy and life is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to be in a bubble, like under the blanket and not talk to anyone.
Yep.
So I am very grateful for this space of connection. So thank you for sharing that with us. So before we begin, for our audio audience, this is Carrie Ann. Mish.
Yo.
Hey. Soph.
Right here.
Hey. And Shar.
Present, miss.
You guys sound so apprehensive. So the ladies and I were planning the topic list for 2021. And as you know, we try to keep it balanced, right? So we like to keep it light, but also have some heavy topics. And so we want to, of course, be mindful. Balance is necessary. But today we're talking about courtship. And so Valentine's Day is around the corner. Hint, hint, men and women. This is your cue to order the flowers and make the reservations and mail the card and all the other things you might be doing for Valentine's Day. If you're planning something for your honey, if this is a holiday that you all celebrate, this is your cue to get the planning. So courtship, what does this even mean right now? When I was trying to prep for this episode, I was like, okay, I don't even know what this means right now. I'm not even sure. The world is a little upside down and decide. And honestly, I had to reorient myself to the concept of courtship. So to make sure we're starting from a base of similar understanding, in the general sense of the term, we're using courtship to mean a period of time where a couple is developing a romantic relationship with the goal of marriage or other long-term commitment. We also want to start from a base of this is something that's closely connected to religion and the progression of romantic relationships. And of course, courtship is going to vary by society norms, time periods, cultures, etc. So with that being said, I want to hear from you all about what does courtship mean to you? Do you all have a definition going?
I wonder if Sophie want to jump in, but I really only, I don't know. The whole religion part of it is always what throws me, because even when I was, kind of looking up, because of course I have my idea of what courtship is, but trying to decide the difference between courtship and dating, a lot of it stemmed around religion and, your religious views, and it just becomes so much easier. But I don't have any I've never been courted, I guess, I don't know. But my sister did. They did the courtship period, and all her friends did. That's very normal for them. I mean, when the one, she has like a group of like 8 girlfriends, and the most recent one that's getting married in like 3 months, they went through the courtship process. They decided they wanted to get married, or, you know, met and said, okay, you know, you seem like a lovely person, let's go through the process. And so they talked to their pastor, talked to their family, did the whole thing. And I'm just like, this is blowing me away. But they don't be wasting no time. Like, none of them. Just
Fascinating to me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I'm learning something new right now.
it's
When
a
I
thing.
was courting, I knew that some people use it a little bit more formally than dating, but I did not expect this. So I am learning something right now.
Yeah, it's a thing. As I said, I never did it. And I want to say my sister also went through this process, but because her and her husband were they were not in the same country, they were long distance, it took them a little longer, but they did the whole thing too. They yeah.
Wait a minute. Is
So
there
tell me
like
what they do. So they talk to the pastor and the parents or something?
Yeah,
Tell me.
so they do premarital counseling, and this is them deciding, okay,
That's on that.
at some point in the near future, we want to get married. Not
Right.
I'm going on one knee and getting married to you, but some point in the near future, I want to get married, I'm going to court you. And so they do counseling. They talk to each other's parents, make sure that they're good.
that's great.
And they go on dates, but not dates where they're like, it's very, very intentional. It's very intentional.
Dates where they're like, what? What are
Well,
the
they go out and they go out also in groups and
Yeah.
try to get to know each other's friends. But it's not like I want to go on a date with you because I want it to be intimate and I want to kiss at the end of the night. That's not the purpose of the date. The purpose of the date is I want to be in your presence to see if we can get along in each other's presence. But it's
Listen,
not.
you need to have your sister send me this handbook because I need to try this courtship thing because this sounds like something I might like.
This is what I'm telling you, is that it's very intentional. They both go into it.
I'm serious. The older,
That's
I
why.
want dating to be intentional.
Right, but I think this is a religious
Absolutely.
thing, is that I think when you are focused on what God has planned for you, they pray together, they pray as a group together, they pray as a family together, and say, I guess they pray over the relationship and say, is this what, and then, you know, the whole formality of, I'm going to go down on one knee and we'll get to the point where we know we want to get married in the next like 5 months, 3 months, a year, whatever. You know, they do the formality of, I'm getting on one knee and I'm asking you to get married, but they don't know them getting married already.
Nobody's shocked.
No, oh my God, you surprised me with this ring, but not, oh my God, you surprised me, we're getting married. No.
Like, oh my gosh, I never thought.
No, they're very,
I don't know if
very
that's ever
intentional.
surprised people. Like, people be knowing.
I
I'm
mean,
like, "Wow, is this really a surprise? This man
No.
is planning a whole wedding. You don't know?
Exactly. Half
I
of those
feel like
don't
I
be
knew
no
half
surprise.
of that, but I feel like when I thought of the more formal courtship, I thought about like 3/4 of that, but not the pastor part, not the parents part, because usually it's like the couple dating a while before they bring in the pastor and the parent. But okay.
No, because I want to say there is no dating, but I mean, usually they get introduced, they have a couple conversations, it works well, and then they, as I said, they court, where they are intentional in what their plan is. There is no, I'm dating a bunch of other people. No, you court one person at one time and y'all are intentional on getting married. Now y'all could get to the pastor and the pastor is like, listen, y'all aren't on the same page, or God has not ordained this, and then go your separate ways.
Mercy. Can you imagine?
Just is what it is. But
it's so funny because in my mind, well, no, I have recently learned because in my head when I grew up, you're only dating to get married. I didn't even realize until I entered the new dating circuit in the 21st century.
Right. Because it's a thing in Jamaica too. It's religious.
To date. Like they're dating to have social interactions with many people. Like that is the purpose. That I was not aware of until I
which is why there's a difference between dating and courtship.
I had to learn that
very
myself.
Intentional. Yeah, it's very intentional.
Mish, I need your sister to send me this handbook. Well, Shar, I'm curious. Like, to your point, I feel like when I was thinking about courtship, I'm thinking about maybe half of what Mish just said. Like, I'm like, it's very intentional, right? It's closely tied to religious beliefs and practices. But I just adore the fact that it's like, we know what we doing here. Like, this is what we're doing. Yeah. And you are from the gate committed. Shar, what was your like definition before Mish blew us all out the water here?
Right?
Well, Mish didn't quite blew me out of the water.
Exactly. I was like, if you look at Soph's face, Soph is not surprised.
No, I think Soph, I thought Soph coming into this conversation would be the one to share the experience Misha just shared. Actually.
Well, I this is secondhand experience. As I said, I never went through that process, but my sister did, and all her friends did. Like literally, this is normal the way that they do it.
The only part that Misha said to me, because I grew up pretty traditional, is the part where the pastor, while you're brand new, like before you start on the journey.
But the journey of what though? Because there's courtship and there's dating. Because
before you start,
if somebody said, because there's as I said, there's courtship and there's dating. So you will meet people, X, Y, and Z, and maybe y'all go out as a group before y'all decide to court. Once you decide to court though, once you decide as a man to court the woman, like she seemed cool. We were in the group last week and she seemed like a cool chick. I'm gonna now court her.
No, I understood what you said.
Now you're bringing everybody into it.
Like I said, I did not. That part is new to me. When like that part is completely new. I would say because I grew up Adventist, and a lot of my friends were Adventist. We kind of, and we have a very strong youth like the Adventist youth ministries, or if you're older, you call it something else. My mom used to talk about MVC or whatever, but missionary volunteers or whatever. But we have a very strong, rich, vibrant, like youth. Like when I was in high school, all of my friends were Adventists, and it was kind of like we were starting from like a baseline where we had our mentors and stuff, but it was never, like I'm saying, there was not a point at which, or formalized point at which anybody was expected to, consult with the pastor before you started courting. We had our friends and we used to hang out in groups. And I think this is Jamaican and not religious. If you have parents, you will get parents' opinion. So I don't know about that. That part is built in. But the pastor before courting,
not before.
No, but it sounds like it's in the very beginning
process. Courting, that's exactly what you said.
No, I said once he decides to court her, once they decide.
Pastor before courting, that's not pastor after courting.
No, so it doesn't sound
in the courting process.
Point where you're like
part of the process.
Yes.
Not before.
Pre-marital counseling is a thing.
Right, not before he courts her, but once they decide to go through the courting process, they bring in the pastor, they bring in the family.
Also, the pastor is not to start the courting.
No,
but I should make this very clear that does depend on your religion, because there are some religion that the pastor actually determines.
That's what I thought you were saying. I heard it.
No. Yeah, my friend, they're not Adventist, they're a different religion. She and this guy in the church, they were dating and loved each other. When I say love, I mean he adored her and vice versa. And he wanted to court her, and he went to the pastor, and the pastor said he didn't think that he was the one for her, and shut it down right there and then. Right there and then, the pastor told him flat out he wasn't the one for her, and the pastor actually pointed out this other girl in the church who he thinks he would have been better off with.
Your
And
faces.
no joke.
So
And
see,
to this day,
this is what I interpreted, Sophie. Honestly, that's what I
yeah,
thought
to
I
this
was being told.
day, he married the one that the pastor pointed out to him, but to this day he's still in love with the other girl.
What
So,
the fuck?
Yeah,
this is
so
what I heard. So,
so
the
it
reason I was saying that is because the way I know it is you guys have the attraction there. There's an interest there, some basal interest and attraction.
Right.
And you
Correct.
go to the pastor, the pastor does not give you doesn't say yes or no, but you do go to the pastor. The pastor will counsel you about how you two will work together. He doesn't give an opinion about yes
No,
or
well, I
no.
mean, if you're counseling someone and the two of you are arguing and you don't even married yet and arguing over stupidness, if you have premarital counseling and the counselor can see that this is not going to work, are they going to be like, yeah, y'all should get married? That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
I
Not
like
real formal. I was like,
no, not like you go to the pastor and the pastor said, no, and don't look good together. You wearing blue, you wearing red, it now work. No.
Well, I don't think Sophie's guy did blue and red. I just feel like they use their qualifications and
the pastor just used his opinion
to inform on your life, and that's where I was seeing the discussion.
Gotcha. But you know, we have to make that very clear, because there are some religions that they do that. But I think more than anybody else, I may be the most formal one, being that I'm married to a pastor and he really did follow the book to the T. Like he really did. It's hilarious when I find out now that I'm finding out some of the things that he did. But like he did went to my dad. He did set my parents down before,
in the beginning. So
in the beginning. So we dated for a few, so the dating and the courting was very distinct. So we dated for a few months where we just went out and hang out. I was hanging out with other people. I don't know what he was doing, but I was hanging out with other people. Let's just be honest, put it out there. I mean, he knows, so it's not like he doesn't know.
Right.
But we dated for a few months, and then when we realized that we truly liked each other and we really liked being in each other's company, the conversation was had that it's just going to be, let's just focus on each other, you know, and like cut out the other external parties. And at that point, he did went and sat my parents down and said to them, you know, I do want to court your daughter. I want to, I would like to, whatever the conversation was said, but along that line, I wanted to court your daughter.
It's intentional.
It became intentional at that point. My dad gave him the blessing. I didn't know this though. It was after I knew that he went to my parents.
Did he have a conversation with you to say, I would like to go through the process of this is the end game?
So after my dad gave him the okay, we had the conversation that we would like to enter the courting phase where it's just you and I. This is, you know, whatever. For me, and I think I did mention to you guys now, and the world may think we're being crazy, but we have decided to go backwards because we didn't court for a long time. We cut it short and got married because so we cut it short. Forgive us, Lord. But yeah,
I mean, it is what it is, man.
It is what it is. But we did. But I honestly have to say, if I had to pick a spot that I loved the most in the process, it was the courting, because during that courting stage is when you truly get to know the person. Like, no one is pretending to be who they're not. Like, you are really being your true self. During that phase is when I also went to meet his parents, and you know, being my true self. I needed to see who they were, and they needed to see who I was. You know, we were going to be family, because at the courting stage, we're courting to get married. At this point, we know enough about each other that we want to marry each other. So I must say, that stage of it was blissful. It was amazing, because you truly get to know the person. I knew during that time that he hated to wash pots, like it wasn't his thing. He would wash any amount of plates, but all the pots will still be in the sink. Like, no joke. He knew that I hated to iron. I
Mhm.
would wash any amount of clothes, but I'm not ironing. So during
Yeah.
all the stage, and yes, the pastor did get involved, but the pastor got involved during the courting
Courting period, right?
period. We did. It's almost like a Sharifa understand premarital counseling. I think you all understand premarital counseling, but it was a phase before the premarital counseling.
Right.
You know, just go talk to our pastor, let him know this is what we're trying to do. This is what we're going to do. At this point, we weren't trying. This is what
Girl,
we're
and if
going
you're
to
in a
do.
church, they will come to you. If they see you sitting together and living life together, and there is two of their young people who they like own,
Right.
they will come and say, "Come talk to me, man."
Yeah, yeah, and they have no shame in their game. But we did talk to the pastor, let him know that we were courting, and then once he decided on a date, he went back to my parents to let them know when, so they knew before I did. And then once he asked, then we went back into premarital counseling for I think 3 months before. Well, it was supposed to be 3 months before the wedding date was set, but again, we kind of jump a few brooms.
Mhm.
So when we went to the
Just
pastor,
couldn't
the wedding date
wait.
was already set, and he was like, that's not how we normally do it. But because he knew him and he knew me, you know, very well, he did take us as one of his client, which was hilarious. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a really good process because there's no confusion as to where you are with the person or as to
Yes.
what you're
Right.
doing.
And
You know
that's less
exactly what's happening.
pressuring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is
That's,
no, I'm just trying to get to know it. No, we did that during the dating
And I feel
period.
like that's
or
what happened
where
a
are
lot. You
we?
don't
Or where
know
are we?
people's
Right, right.
intentions. Yeah.
But here's my question, because it sounds like dating is different than courting.
It
So
is.
my question is it similar to the non-religious world where you're dating, you're hanging out, you're talking, all kinds of names, until there's a conversation, because there's a whole bunch of names. What we doing? Don't nobody know what we doing because we all calling
With
it a
that,
date, right?
With
But there
that.
is at some point an intentional conversation about, okay, we doing this thing together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
well,
There has to be
there
that
has to be
in the
right.
dating world. Yeah, there
Yeah.
has to be a stage where you
Yeah.
hang out with this person enough to say,
Right.
I think I'm more than like you. I'm not gonna say I love you yet, but I think I'm more than like you. I like your company. I like being around you. I like your conversations.
Right.
I want to go further. I want to move a little bit further. You know, that word intentional is very important when when in the dating world, because
Yeah.
there's a time where you're just hanging out. Like, I'm not being
Right.
intentional. I'm just hanging out with you. I want to
Right.
catch a movie. I call you, go catch a movie. But
Right.
when you hang out with a person enough where you're like, oh man, this boy really does something to me, then it becomes this intentional phase where you're like, I just want to hang out with you.
But
And I think
even
that's when
after
that
that,
conversation takes place and the courting begins.
even
But you
even
know,
after that, for the dating in the modern world, there are people who will say, listen, I just want us to be exclusive. I want to be your boo. Child, please don't use boo. Anyway, I want us to be in a relationship. There are people who get stuck in that because it becomes comfortable. It's okay when
that's
you're
exactly
courting.
what I was gonna say, Mish. Yeah.
When you are courting someone, it's intentional. There's an
Yes.
end game.
Yes.
You know that you're getting to the point of getting married. You guys are on the same page with life after you get to that point. You're preparing for marriage, and you are preparing as a couple to have life after marriage. It's not just I'm preparing to have a wedding.
Right.
All of these things that they're doing throughout that process of courting is to prepare them for life as a married couple. And a lot of these courting takes sex off the table completely. So that also is an added layer of, there's really no pressure because it's
Right.
not like, I know what's happening, you know what's happening. There is no like, I mean, there might be a lot of sexual tension, but
There's no sex happening.
You might have to cut some things short.
But here's my question though, because it feels like, based on what you all are saying, the disconnect is if you're not operating from a religious space, we're all going through the same stages of, we got to get to know the person. Once you start spending enough time with that person, you know if this is the person you want to be in a partnership with.
Right.
Whether
I was
it's
about to
a
say,
religious track or not, right?
Right.
But I think where the thing starts, the trail starts going off the rail is in your non-religious kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as clearly defined. And so we
Correct.
end up in a relationship forever without a necessary,
but you know what? I feel like we deserve that because we kind of deserve it because we're adult enough to say what our intentions are. Because I have met people who don't want to get married. Not that they don't want to commit to a relationship. Not that they don't want to, and they don't want to get married. Oh, guys. Okay. Anyway, y'all need to watch YouTube. I'm gonna tell you what just happened. I'm not telling you what just happened. Go watch the video.
But it's okay.
Did you see that?
Everyone has
Yes,
a right.
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, and then there's some people who just date. Anyway, I would like to stop because I would like to give a space for my friend. Mm-hmm. Did you have something to say? Misha,
What friend?
did you have something to say?
All I'm saying is you are correct. There are people, everybody goes into relationships with different intentions. And just because I like you, matter of fact, just because I love you, doesn't mean we have the same end goal in sight. And the problem is that we have been taught that there are phases, and as you know, you need to go through it and figure it out, and everything is different, but they don't tell you that you just need to make your intentions very clear. I am completely okay with dating you. But I am not going to date you forever. At some point, there needs to be a courting phase. And once we go into the courting phase, you're not going to court me forever. The courting phase is for us to get married. And once we get married, this is what's going to happen. And those are your intentions.
Here's
You know
my
what
question.
I think the reason why, go ahead, Carrie.
No, you might be answering the same question I have. So how do you make the connection for people who aren't in a religious space, right? Because I think we all want the same end thing. We want to be clear. Everybody wants clarity. They want to know what we're doing, right? Everybody wants that, whether you're religious or not. How do we make that connection where it's not being guided by our religious communities, for example?
Right.
I'm thinking, for one, people need to at least first understand the difference between dating and courting, right? Because there is a clear difference. When you're dating, it's just you really just hanging out with a person. You're not sharing your life goals with them. You may hint on a few things here or there, but you're not telling them your deepest, darkest everything about you, right? Because you're just dating this person. I feel like if you date a person,
send your representative.
Okay.
You send your representative when you're in the dating process?
A piece of you, okay? Because listen, let's be honest. What you don't want to happen is you've dated 5 guys and 5 guys walk away with every bit of you. Right. You don't want that to happen, because it's a possibility that the person you're dating now, you realize 2 weeks down the line, actually your breath stink or your feet stink. I really don't want to go any further with you, but you've already told them everything about you. They walk away knowing all of your deepest, darkest secrets. You see what I'm saying? And that's the difference between courting and dating. When you're dating, you're really just hanging out. You're sharing a little bit about yourself, but you're not sharing too much, right? So if you were to say,
I'm supposed to switch to court and then you share and the person say, you did not tell me this before we were courted.
No, see, that's why both parties need to be somewhat on the same page, or we're understanding each other. Right, because
that's why they have to do the pastor thing. That's why you have to have pre-marital counseling.
You better come with a part B. What happens when you're not in the religious space? Because
the pre-marital counseling, it doesn't have to be a pastor.
Let's be honest too. You're not courting 1,000 people. I mean, let's be honest. Right. You may date 1,000, but you're not courting 1,000, right? Because courting is very intentional. Courting says, I like enough about you where I want to marry you.
Right.
Right.
Get to know everything. So during courting, you're
Right.
talking about how many kids you want. You're talking about where you want to live. You're talking about where you
Right.
want to retire. You're talking about where do you see yourself, what kind of job you want to retire from. Like
Those
courting,
don't
you're
have
talking
people
about all of
scared because
those.
they're married and none of them questions the answer. Carry on.
That's the problem with marriages. You got a lot of people crossing over from dating to marriages and cut out the courting stage altogether. Then you're in a marriage and you're like, I don't know you.
Okay,
Who am
guys,
I
we can
with?
end now. This is the end of
Snaps
it.
for that. Snaps. Snaps on that.
We've wrapped up this episode.
Here's my question, because I think Soph has explained it so well. And in talking it through, I'm like, I don't know that people are, there's no, I first of all, until we talk
I
about
now have some questions for the people. Anyway, carry on.
talked about courtship, and so I'm like, well, no, the last time I talked about courtship, because what ends up happening, or what I've seen in my experience, which I believe is the experience of most women who are dating outside of a religious space, is that you're dating someone, you're getting to know them, and yes, in the beginning, to Soph's point, everything's light. We chilling, we cool, okay, you want to do something, okay. And then the more time you start spending, so you find that you might be going from seeing that person once a week, once every 2 weeks, now you see them 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week. You on the phone with them constantly. You texting,
5 times
Snapchat.
a week?
They could
That's
move
courting.
toothbrush in the bathroom.
There's no definition about where
the lines are blurred.
The lines are blurred. And so here's my question, because now we're in a space where people are in a competition to see who could care less, but everybody want good connection. And the lines are blurry about, are we dating? Are we courting? What are we doing? Right?
Yeah.
How do you mesh those things? Because I think there's so much confusion because we're not calling it what it is, and everyone kind of wants to see where it goes. And we all know it's going to go where you want it to go.
Right. So I think one of the biggest things is that we are in the age of technology where your net can be cast way wider.
Right.
Before, you can only date the people in your immediate little circle. So people you go to church with, people you see in the grocery store, people that you're at work with, your net is small. So you try to make it work with this, because you're like, okay, this person seems good for me, and I'm going to try to make it work because chances are I'm not going to find another person like this. The problem with this society now is, as I said, age of technology, the net is cast very wide. So if this person checks everything off your list except that one, maybe if I cast my net a little further, I can get that one thing on the list, that one thing that's missing. When really, this is not what it's supposed to be about. That's not the idea of it, but because that's how we don't even know how to teach our kids how to do things, because everything is changing so rapidly. Technology is changing so rapidly that it's like, how do you teach people how to date in an age of even pandemic? How do you teach people that, listen, you can't even meet people in the grocery store anymore, because who is going to the grocery store, really? So,
Right.
You're like, I'm going to meet people on a dating app or on a website or on Instagram. Let me slide in that DM. I mean,
Right.
I had 10 years ago, for real, 10 years ago, if you told people, oh, I met this dude on a dating app, they're like,
right.
Are you sure? Like, did you run a background check? Now you tell people you met them in a grocery store, you're like, are you sure?
Right. Like, what are you doing in the grocery store? Right.
And how did that happen? You talk to people in the grocery store?
You talk to people in the grocery? What is happening? Yep. So it's changing so rapidly that the what is the word I'm looking for? Like the rules associated with dating, people haven't caught up to it. Like you ghosting somebody is not cool. And if you are intentionally dating someone, you can't ghost them. That's not a thing. At this point, y'all are dating, your friends know each other. It's hard to ghost somebody at that point. So I think we just need to go back.
People do that all the time.
No, but meet your friends and establish and just
No,
done?
that's what I'm saying. You don't. Like, you cannot.
Oh, okay.
But people aren't doing that. They're like putting their feelers out in the net is wide. They're just like, I'm just gonna date 60 people and maybe I could catch one. And if that don't, like, I don't even know. Like, it's the standards have become, I don't even know. I am not trying to date right now. So
we're setting the standards, because I think to Saul's point, and I think Shar alluded to this, right? When we're dating, somebody's gonna say, right, or maybe it's a joint conversation, hey, what are we doing? Oftentimes, I feel like as women, we look to the man to initiate the conversation.
I know to apologize every time because I be team too much. Because I will say it, and I will say it real soon. I'm not trying to marry you today, but I need to know
if you want to get married.
And if you can't even, and my thing is, I know a lot of people talk about people who are too much or whatever. Listen, if you're afraid of that question, you might as well don't bother with me, because me.
Well, at what point are you asking this question, Shar?
You know,
I'm asking this just randomly. What are you looking for?
Oh, well, what are you looking for? Questions a little easier than.
Yeah, that's different.
No, but that's, because that's the first question.
Yeah.
But I feel like it deserves a follow-up after you've seen the person. At least after a few times, you have to follow that up with more.
Here's my issue with that, Shar. We take our time to do everything in life except finding a partner. Let's be honest. We're in school for 8 years. We take a year and a half, maybe 2 years to find a house because we want to find the right house. We invest time in everything. But when we find somebody that we like, we immediately start asking them 1,000 questions. You want to get married tomorrow? What are you doing? What do you want from it? I honestly think that should be the one thing we take the most time with. Because when you think about a life partner, let me tell you, we're talking about a life. This is the one person you're going to be with literally until the day
you don't
God
ask the person if they want to marry you. You ask them what their end goal is.
I honestly think, and I think, again, this is a difference. And if a lot of females understand this, it'll be so much easier. This is my opinion, Sophia 101. I think if females spend more time in the dating world of just having fun, with a person, and again, be careful with that fun part, because I think we misunderstand when I say having fun with a person. Before they start asking those questions, I think it would be easier to ask the question when the time is right. And I should also say, there's nothing wrong with a female asking the question. There's nothing wrong with a male asking the question. Anybody can ask the question. But I think it gets a little tricky when you go out with a person 2 times and then you're immediately saying to them, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want?
But
right?
You need because I don't think I disagree with how it's being framed, because
I don't think you should be looking for anything because
I think also you're not so that's not what we're saying. I don't think what I'm saying is exactly what you're saying, so because you would not have even spoken to Darren if you thought Darren was just dating and not interested in marriage. There are some people who are out in the social world single and their end goal is not marriage. No one's asking you, do you want to marry me or you? Because at that point, no one knows. And I think, well, it depends on how mature you are, but most people, I reserve the right to decide if I like you and you have to like me. I don't want to be with somebody who don't like me.
Right.
They shouldn't be with, okay. So, but the thing is the end goal, and it's an easy question, which is, so what you're saying is putting more on the question, which is what I don't like, because I don't think asking someone's intention in life means I'm going to want to marry you.
Correctly.
It just means, what are you?
That's what you said that correctly, Sharifa. Intention in life. Right. Intention with me are two different intentions.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. What you do is say to them, what are you out here looking for? Because some people are out here looking for a third.
Okay.
Some people are out here looking. No, seriously. And some people, and you have to ask that up front, because you know what is silly? Knowing, and this is what some people do. They know, or they get the vibe that the person is having a good time. They give all the go, and you think you could change someone's intention. No. Do
Right.
not sit there dating them, hoping that the more they learn to know you and they see how
Yeah.
good a person you are
Yeah.
and how much fun you have together, then they're
Right.
gonna say, I want to marry or I want to settle down. That person might be in it for fun, so they're gonna stay with you because you are a good person and you
Yeah.
are fun.
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking for. They'll just find out what they're looking for, just in the space, not for you.
Yeah.
Because
But
dating, you don't even start talk
question-
about courting or boyfriend, girlfriend yet. You're literally just
Right.
chatting. It should be shooting the breeze. It shouldn't feel.
Yes, but I think it's the same question as do you want children? It's the same question. And I think at a certain age,
Lord.
if women bring them up, it feels, again, feedback that I've heard from men, they'll be like,
Stifling.
women are aggressive out here about making us aware they want kids. When to the same point, I just want to know what you want.
Yeah,
That
because
doesn't mean
maybe I don't want to have kids.
It doesn't mean, all right, it doesn't mean anything around what I want with you. But me saying what I want is just letting you know what my end goal is. And if
But
you're
then,
on
you see
that,
that presumption, see? How could that
Well,
really
some
mean
people
that I want to be with you? I don't know you.
some people, but I think to Soul's point, it depends on when you're having that conversation, right? Like,
Yeah, I think so. And I think the way you say it too.
mm-hmm.
And especially if
Yeah.
you're saying it like over text. Oh,
Over
y'all are
text,
like,
or so the other part, Tamisha, is right. You're talking about online dating, which is a thing right now, especially
thing.
now that we're all home. So on an online dating profile, people are putting out what they want. So by the
Oh,
time
yeah.
we've spoken, I already know two things about you. You're dating, right? And if you're very explicit in your profile, I have a sense about what you are looking for to some degree. So it's almost like there are all these other things going on in the background that influence our conversation. So it's like, yeah, we're having fun, we're cool, but I have some knowledge about you before we even meet,
yeah.
based on your online presence and what you've said, virtually. Now,
Right.
whether
That
that's
is
true,
true.
is a whole other conversation, because sometimes that stuff be not true.
That's
Oh.
what I'm about to say, Carrie. Some people be lying, but
They lie.
you are right. Technology has really helped with the dating part of a relationship a lot, because a lot of times people, those who are telling the truth,
Right.
put a lot of information on their app that you would have needed to talk about or ask. So that does take care of a lot. But again, it's just weeding out trying to find who is telling the truth and who
And
is lying
that's the
about it.
problem.
I remember one time I met this guy that told me he was a doctor, only to find out that he worked on a flipping what you call it, like a construction site. I was like, what are you doing, doctor with the construction site?
Maybe
I'm
he's the
confused.
nurse, the doctor on the site.
Right, digging the hole, right? You're a doctor to the hole. Okay, keep digging, sir. I don't understand. but that's one thing, when you're working in the technology world, it's hard sometimes trying to find people who are honest. But when those who are honest, it does help you a lot. It actually save you about 2 months of questions.
Even more than 2 months.
Even
I'm telling you. Yeah, because there are certain people who will say certain things, but they have no idea they're just saying it because it sounds right. So what do you want? Do you want to be married? Yes, I want to be married. Or are you okay with people who already have kids? And you're like, yeah, kids are cool. And then y'all are in a relationship and they're like, yeah, the kids got to live here. And you're like, I'm sorry, you have kids, but they ain't lived with you before. Now they got to come live with me? No,
Right.
Now you don't waste your time. You don't waste your time.
Yeah, that's the rough part about life. Like, they're telling the truth,
Right.
but they don't know any better. They're not mature enough or haven't experienced enough. So they're saying that that's okay. And then when the kids are kids, then those things are become an issue when you said you were okay with kids and they're like, well,
yeah, because they live over there.
Right.
The situation is different if they live here. I'm not okay with that. But it comes a part of it. But yeah, people tell their own truth, as you said. So they think they're ready for a relationship, but their version of what a relationship looks like is completely different from what your version of what a relationship looks like. And that's the hard part. Yeah.
And as a female too, we need to remember, female and male, let me not just say just for female. As Sharifa point out, telling a person what you want out of life should not be a red flag to the next person to run and say, oh, you're quick, you're moving fast. Because me telling you what I want is not saying I want it with you, right? I'm just straight up telling you what I want. You know, I'm giving you an idea as to where my mind is in the event yours is not there. We don't have to, you know, I mean, if a person just want a friendship, then, you know, that can easily be said. I'm just looking for a friend. But for me, if I'm not just looking for a friend, or I'm not just hanging out just to hang out, like I have a end goal, I have somewhere that I want to go, this is what I would want for myself. I don't think it should be a red flag for the next person to run and say, whoa, you're moving too fast, slow your roll, shorty, because I'm not saying I want it with you, you know. And that's also a way for you to tell if a person is mature, you know. If you're not even mature enough to have this conversation with me, then maybe we shouldn't be hanging out.
Listen, there are some guys that will say, oh, okay, but you can make a stop on the way. Like, they still will shoot their shot. Are you trying to get married? Okay, I won't get in the way of that. But in the meantime.
And again, like I said,
online is not
know.
It's like a social experiment online.
Oh my!
You know what I realized? I was talking to a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, handsome young man, eligible bachelor, a guy that you like a sub Will Smith, as you know, in my mind. And the other day, listen, like no joke. And the other day I was talking to him, and it was so funny, because I was like, you know, I have a friend for you. But then after having a conversation with him, I said, I would never hook you up with my friend. And he said, why? I said, because as smart as you are and as good looking as you are one immature fool. And he was like, why would you say that? You know, I think I literally caught him off guard. But I said, the problem with these young men have nowadays is you have so many eligible female out here in these streets, like doing it for themselves, look good, take care of themselves and everything. That is just truly just want to find somebody to settle down with. Then you have our men out there, you know, half of them in jail, half doing nothing, another half on the street. I know that's what I was gonna say.
Oh my God.
I know, but it's not like their numbers are as high. So when they have something going for them and they realize they can pick, choose, and refuse, oh, they're taking advantage, and they're picking and they're choosing and they are refusing. And it really bothers me that, and I said this to him, I said, you are an idiot to pass, because this other lady that I know he was talking to, very nice girl, pretty girl, she's a teacher too, doing her best, doing things for herself. And he was like, you know, I'm just not ready. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You know what's going to happen? As my mother always say, you're going to pick to the pick foolishness. Keep it up. The woman that got married, I'm going to beat you. I mean, I
not beat.
I am done. I am finished.
This is man. Check beat him. Check beat him, no joke. Because I'm like, you don't want a good woman. You don't want, and if you notice, look at these guys out there. Unless you find a really, and there's so few of them. Oh my God. I honestly, I don't know. I said it before and I said it again. I couldn't do the dating thing, because the good guys, the real decent ones that are out there, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's just so hard to find one. And then there are guys out there. I'm not saying that they're not. They are out there. But it's almost not like you're scared, because the bad ones are just so
so many of
bad.
them.
Yeah, that you're almost scared to even put yourself out there anymore. Cause you're like, just another one. Yep, you're another one.
Okay,
I
so
don't
where do
know.
we
There's
put
a lot
out
of
the
good guys. There's a lot of good guys
I
out
was
here.
gonna
I
say,
They
you know,
are. There
as a
are a lot of
newbie,
good guys.
as a
I
newbie to
do
the dating
know
scene, I would say, mhm,
finding the good guys the first battle, right? But everything else got to make you got to find the good guy. You got to be attracted to the good guy. It's got to be a good time for you both, right? The timing thing. So it's like there are good men out here, and I haven't even layered on our other things that we're thinking about as Black women around the who we should be with versus who we want to be with, right?
Mhm.
This idea of I can't date a man that's doing X or making less than me, or all these qualifiers that we put on a good man.
Poor
Right.
man.
When a good man is just someone who is gonna be good for you, right? So there are all these things all happening. Shar, you were saying something just now.
I
okay,
can't remember.
I know.
I just want to jump in and say, where do we put in the petition for us to reinstate this courting period? That's what I want to know.
I'm glad you circled back because I'm curious.
No, see, this is a serious question because you can find a good man and the miscommunicate, there's misfiring somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know when it's right. You don't know when it's right. You kind of literally are a ship. Both of you are a ship on the water, going along with the flow, enjoying the scenery. The sunset is awesome.
Right.
There's drinks flowing on this boat, but the boat don't have no direction. It's just going with the tide.
Well, somebody got to know what they want and be
Yeah, I
able.
don't think.
Well, knowing what you want
And saying it,
and doing it. It's not even just saying it, because I can say, man, that island over there look nice. I kind of want to go over there, and here goes the ship.
Yeah.
well,
But
y'all
then you're
better
like,
go back and listen to the divorce episode because y'all will stay married for the rest of your life. Y'all will see,
floating.
you will float on that sea, and it works with everything in life. It's not
Yep.
just getting divorced. It just means if you're in a space and you know what you want,
Right.
and some point someone's gonna have to initiate some action and some
Right.
resolution, or else you're saying that you're okay with the scenery.
With the
Because I'm
floating. I
telling
mean, the
you,
scenery is great,
I've
as I
heard
said.
some people who that's what they want. They don't want anything more. They want a committed person because they like the comfortability
Want somebody
and
to float.
but then they're that's it.
Right.
That is the end goal.
Our standards are so low now. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, but it's fine if that's what you also want, right? I think
Exactly.
knowing what you want. Because if you
Right.
want the float and they want the float, then we could just all
Then we
float.
can
float
flow.
together, right?
Then we can flow.
You know,
But
honestly,
most of the time, we
Misha,
want more than the float.
Right.
Misha, to answer your question, there is no time period as to when one person can say to the next person, where are we going? Let's start quoting. I agree, really quoting. But let's start quoting, right? There's not a 3-month period or a 1-year period or a 6-month. I don't think it's a time period. I honestly think if you're with a person that you're dating and you guys are hanging out and you're having a good time and both party, I think it's a feeling where you both, and as a female, God put something in us that I call discerning spirit, where we're not fool, we have some sense. We can tell when a guy, and a lot of times we fool ourselves, not because we don't know better, but we just convince ourselves because it's what we want. So we may be with this guy and we want the guy, but everything about what the guy is doing is telling us that the guy don't feel the same way. But because we want him, we convince ourselves that he feels the same way. Let's be honest, right?
I'm raising my hand.
Let's be honest.
No,
Dream Gary. Somebody Dream Gary.
We can't all release the YouTube. This you gotta see these things.
Dream Gary.
I think Sophie's 100% right.
1,000%.
You know, I was hanging out with some males. I think maybe 2 years or so
where's
ago.
Sophie hanging, by the way? But anyway, carry on.
Listen, no, about 2 years ago. It's a while back. But I was hanging out with some guys and I was listening to them talk. You know, guys are talking about females. By the way, FYI, you should know this. men talk more about women than we talk about men. Don't let them lie to them.
Oh,
Don't let
we
them lie
know.
to them. But anyways,
we know,
they
and
were
they're more
talking.
emotional too.
Yes, don't let them lie to them.
All
But
lies, guys. All
they were
lies.
they were talking, and one guy said to the group, he was like, if only female can just read between the line. Sometimes we don't verbally say something, but it's very obvious when we like them, because we will go through fire if we need to spend that 5 seconds with them. And that thing hit me now, and I said to myself, dang, through fire just to spend that
Yeah,
5 seconds?
you're cheating, man.
Wait.
Do?
But then I'm thinking about, like, back in the day before I got married, and hanging around with people, and there was this one particular person that I wanted to hang around more than he wanted to hang around, and I would call him like, "What you doing?" Oh, but there's always an excuse. But in my mind, oh, you like me? Maybe you're just really busy. No, if you really like me the way I like you, I don't care what kind of busy, you're gonna make the time for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's just something like females. If we just like look, because they believe me, guys cock on the ears, but they're not as smart as they're making us all believe they are. They can't really hide things that the females can. If a man like you can tell. You can tell.
That's true,
They
but
will jump through hoop.
People's love languages are also very different. So
That is true.
how people show their love is completely different than they showing it. So they may not have the time, but they will not be able to speak to you, but they may send you flowers and said, I was thinking about you at some point, even though they don't have the time to come see you or call you or whatever, but
Get
that's
the clue.
their
You
way.
can get the
Like
clue,
I said,
That's
basically.
their
like
way
I
of
said,
saying
if
it.
they like you, you will know.
No,
Because
I
they
agree
will,
with you.
yes, they
Yeah,
will
I agree.
do enough
I just don't
for
want
you
it
to know.
Right. I
Oh,
don't want
it
it to
won't
be
come
like,
the
what
way
if that person, right? I don't want it to be like, well, that person didn't text me today. That person don't like me.
No.
That might not be the situation. That
No,
person
man. Even
genuinely
if them
may
can't get
be
the text,
busy.
they would tell you, oh, I agree with Sophie. And
I
you know
agree
what?
too.
It's such a delicate balance, because
Right.
going back to what you said before, yes, I agree. You shouldn't be shy to ask or whatever. And I definitely think you should be in a space. But I agree with you too, when you are dating, even if, I don't know, this one is the one where this is just balance and sensing. But honestly, there's a part at which, well, I know myself very well. Sometimes when I feel like, oh, I think this is a person that I would spend more time with, sometimes because I know myself, I just hold back and let it go still. So I think there's truth. Don't want to miss over when Sophie said, sometimes when you're in the space of dating, courting, whatever, and yes, you might be ready to signal the change, but you have to know yourself. If you are a too quick signaler, pull yourself back a little bit,
Right.
Or if you're the kind of person who lingers, maybe if you drape yourself and face facts. Well, the boat, if you know you're a boat that's floating, you want more, but you're willing to float because you're just a hesitant person. You kind of have to just be aware of that and remember what you want out of your life, right? And if you're the kind of person to jump the gun, you got to give people space to also get to know you and grow and learn. So
but then you also mentioned
it's a balance.
But you also mentioned the idea of knowing yourself also. A lot of people dating and don't even know themselves. Don't even know.
So, this
what
is one
going
thing
on.
I learned really the hard way.
I mean, we talked about this in that series with Dr. K and in the divorce series.
Yeah.
I mean, the divorce conversation.
I know myself. That is one thing. I know what I need. I know what I want.
Right.
I
And
know
you
what
know
I
your
can
deal breakers?
handle. Yep.
Okay,
well, yeah, but my deal breaker different from yours. Listen.
Oh, we've already identified that. I mean,
but
I just remember you saying I don't have deal breakers.
Listen, I have to say I've enjoyed having to date.
That's
because
good.
I am learning myself in relation to other people. And so, yes, my goal was the social aspect of it. I'm not trying to, now I'm gonna get married. No, ma'am, no, sir. No, now I wanna see. And to be honest, it's been great because I met great people who really enriched my experience and my life. Great conversations. I mean, like things that I did not experience and was like, clearly,
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed that experience because I've been wined and dined with
Okay.
intellect. Oh, sorry, I don't mean literal whining or sorry, guys. I mean, I do mean that too. I mean the flowers. I mean the texts and the flowers or whatever. But I also mean investment and interest and laughter and like all of these things that I think is healthy. So
yeah,
that's helpful. So, ladies, if someone was listening, maybe they tuned in the beginning, they're busy, they missed most of what we talked about. What would you say you want them to take away from this episode about courtship?
That is intentional.
That was what I would say.
I mean, there is nothing else. I mean, it's intentional. Two people are on the same page for the most part. You get to know a person on a whole different, you get to know them during the process, but it's an intentional, the aim is to get to know them and make sure that you guys are walking in the same direction. Doesn't have to be on the same path, but it has to be in the same direction.
Okay.
So if nothing else, I think that is probably what they.
And your sister's gonna hook us up with the handbook because
I was about to say the first piece of y'all better rewind if you just joined and listen to the first piece where Mish was defining and Soph was defining. Because I really think I love the definition, and if that's what you're in the market for, I really would not recommend anything.
I mean,
better.
how do we find this? I'm telling you, I just want to know if there's like a petition.
There's nothing better than that.
I don't know. Tell some of these dating apps they need to have a courting period.
No, seriously. Seriously, I just need to figure it out. Anyway.
Anyway, never mind.
Thanks, Mish.
I would also add to Carrie, because one of the questions you were asking is for people who are not really, who are trying to get into this courting phase without like the religious views. And you all touched on this where not everyone wants to get married, right? Some people just want to have the commitment with a person, and courtship is intentional where you both have an end goal. If the end goal is marriage, then you're courting to get married. If the end goal is a committed relationship, then you're courting for that committed relationship. It's not just marriage. It's two people on the same path with the same understanding. Let's put it like that. With the same understanding, we are trying to get to that same end goal. And whatever that end goal is, it's not just marriage, right? It's whatever we both agree that we both want.
Right.
So that's one thing I would add to the whole courting thing, that it's not just marriage, because not everybody wants to get married. You guys are right. I mean, the religious part, of course, but it's not everyone who's religious and want to get married. Some people just want a committed relationship. So if you find another person who feels the same way, and let me just put this out there, because there's a party in this group. Maybe I shouldn't say. Go ahead, Shar.
I feel like I would like to hear.
Go ahead, Shar.
There is a party in this group. So it's one of four. No, it's one of three, because it's not she.
Left.
It's not she.
I'm putting myself out by saying go ahead, because I don't even know what it is, but something tells me I shouldn't miss it. But okay,
we're gonna miss it. Go ahead, Shar. I'll talk off air for this one.
Oh, Jesus.
Shar, what's your takeaway? What's your insight that you're sharing with someone who's just tuning in to the episode?
Nothing. I just want to say ditto. I think we had a great conversation, and
nothing. Go on. That was a Sophie answer, but go on.
Right.
Well,
I agree.
I would take a leaf out of some. I mean, because my whole thing is being intentional. And when I say intentional, I don't even mean you must ask or you must. I mean, think about what it is that you want. You don't have to ask.
Communication.
So you can or you can't. But I'm just saying, just think about what it is that you want. And just
be intentional about it.
I mean, it's just ditto, because everything we say, none of it is the right way to success, but all of it is very important to know and to implement if depending on what your end goal is. So intentional, ditto Mish, ditto so.
I agree. I do think the word that keeps coming up is intentional. And as I was like prepping for this, I was trying to write something down because I think I wanted to not forget things as I was thinking this through. And I had two takeaways. The first one was, you must answer this question for yourself. And it is, what do you want? And you have to answer it honestly. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. That's it. I think we touched, all of us touched on this. People are, you're out here, you don't know what you want, and you lying to yourself. And by definition, you're lying to other people, right? So you do have to know what you want. And I think the second point is, don't let perfection be the enemy of your good. There are great things happening, but because it doesn't fit perfectly or it doesn't look perfect, it's like not good. That first question I mentioned about, knowing what you want, like spending time to figure out what you want before you commit to somebody, right? Like, what are you bringing to the relationship, right? What do you want from someone in a relationship? What does a relationship mean to you, right? Like, being clear about those things, I think, is so important, because I meet people all the time, and I used to be in that space too, right? Where I'm like, I just want to be with somebody. But like, there are nuances that you got to figure out what that looks like. And it only comes, I think, through this self-reflective work, like working to master yourself, which people tend to try to avoid. But what happens is when you meet somebody, right away, to Soph's point, it don't take forever. If this is who you want to be with, if they mesh with you, your vibe, you can see yourself in a partnership with them. So you come to the table knowing yourself, and it makes it easier. That's last part about not letting perfection be the enemy of good. I think that accepting that no one is perfect, and it's like choosing a person that you like you love them, you're gonna love them, but you like them. Like, you like them as a person. You want to be their friend, even if they wasn't laying the pipe right. Y'all want to be friends, you want to be friends with them. That's the crux of your partnership.
Ma'am, courtship does not include any pipe laying, okay?
Okay. All right, y'all.
Send the manual, Misha. She needs the manual.
She needs the manual.
I need it. I must have missed that part, but
okay, I want to miss it. That's why.
She asking for manual. I should have even anyway.
I asked from the beginning. Know thyself.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Okay.
Oh my God.
I do think it's important. It's important to not think that we're chasing perfection, because there's no such thing. And I do agree with Soul's point that you do know early on, but you can only know early on if you know what you want. Because if you know what you want and they coming through to tell you what you want or what you should want.
Right.
Well, they are coming through to tell you what you should want.
Yeah, they defining for you what you want when you don't come to the table knowing what you want. So that's all I got for the takeaways. This is
I'll be snapping all this.
Listen, learn so much, okay?
We gonna tag the book when we get it. We are going to tag these apps out here because we need a courtship phase. Y'all need to stop playing with us out here, okay? Got us out here talking for days, years. We talking. What we talking about?
We should have talked about what Jamaicans, all the words Jamaicans used to call not committed. With that, just a talk.
With that.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you one thing though. I remember my mom telling me this as a young person. She was like, when I was dating, a man had to pay to do my hair. He had to pay to do my nails. He had to pay to get me sorted out if he wanted to go on a date. I was like, okay. Now, listen, I have never. Okay. I'm still trying to get. I'm trying to get $100. Nails, hair. What?
Give me a bus
We
fare.
didn't
Me
even
need
touch
it
the
there.
top of the iceberg because, well,
So give
okay,
me
so
a
this was the
BuzzFeed.
definition. We need a part 2 for what is actually happening in the dating scene because, as you mentioned, that there's also this whole new thing about.
Well, that's dating. That's unintentional, and we got to talk about dating separately. We have to have a topic about dating, how it was, and cause people. I'm sure when my parents talk about it, people used to come at them gate. I knock on gate. I want to talk to this person. I talk to the parents. No, that ain't happening now. Knock on which gate. You lucky. Listen, you lucky you getting my attention, ma'am. You need to figure this out.
It's true. It's a different time. So this was a great episode. Thank you all so much. Anything else before we go today?
Girl, I thought the episode was done. Okay.
Episode done.
Thanks,
Done.
y'all. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.